All right, Leave Diener Alone. This was requested by Inchman, a La Cucaracha demo outtake. So this one is a D. It's a rocker. Very similar musically and just, you know, overall vibe-wise to My Own Bare Hands. Lots of lead stuff going on. It's just kind of noodly, but it's cool. So let's do the main riffs first. So this is in drop D. So that, of course, is just drop D. And the extra string there is basically just kind of used as... he's not constantly chugging. I mean, he is constantly chugging on it, actually, but it's not used in the typical way that in a lot of rock songs you get lots of, like, riffs down here. It kind of does, but it's a bit different. So, main riff. So, the intro of the song, it just starts off with the... So that's just a hit on the low D string. You could maybe include the A string there too, but just a low E string, I should say. But of course it's tuned to D. So low string, 2 hits of the D chord with the third in there, major third. You're gonna have a major third on the B string on lots of these chords. And then lots of passive sort of chugs on the low power chord there on the D especially, but also on the A string there, so the low 2 strings. And then so just D, C. And then just, I like to upstroke on that. And then we get into the verse, right? So the verse is just... It's basically just that repeated, and then it ends the verse the same way that you got into it. Alright, so the verse, so what you see Diener, because he's playing the rhythm, do live is he does, I think he's basically just hitting the 5th on the D, G, and B strings. So chugging on the bottom 2, and then hitting those bottom 2. Right, so just hitting the 7th on those 3 strings. So he's very heavily muting those hits, and then right before he hits the 4th and 5th of those bottom 2 strings, and then he mutes it again. So then 3rd there. Alright, so that's the verse. You could also, you know, he might have been doing this on the demo, but it's just easier to do live, or it's how Diener does it or whatever. You could just go, you could just hit that C power chord, and then hit the low A note in there. Either way, that's the verse. And then the chorus, the rhythm part there is just chugging on those low 2 strings. And then the stabs of just... You may or may not want to get the low string in there with this, so it's just... And then slow build up, A chord, A power chord, really. You can throw the major 3rd in there, but it's really... And then they do a G chord, and you can see them when they do it live. They hit the low G note on the 5th fret of the low E string tuned to D. And you're going to want to mute the A string there, right? So, and then just top 2 strings on the 3rd fret. And then you see him do open D major and open C major. I like it a bit better. We may or may not be doing this, but I like to not have the 3rd in there, so just mute the high E string there. So just don't play it, and then mute the D string there, so you just don't play it, and the high E there. Right, so, and then that's the 2 parts basically, and then the song just ends with the or you could go, which you're probably already down there. That's how the song ends. Those are essentially the riffs. Now for all the lead guitar stuff, there's a couple solos, and I guess I'll just go, well, I'll do there's the intro solo, and then there's the main solo, essentially. There's a couple little bits he does in the chorus and stuff, so I'll do there's a little fill he does in the last verse as well. So, in the chorus, when he's doing the stabs, he's just going, he may or may not be chugging on the low string, but he's definitely going, so that is 7th on your D through B strings, and then he does the 8th, so you get a little 7th in there. You can also do that down here for an A7. Right, so I do an upstroke there just to emphasize the higher notes. Whether or not he's doing that, I don't know. I'd probably say it's an upstroke. And then, so for at the second chorus, he does that. So this is of course over the A. You get it's sort of acting as a A7, right? It's like because this is set in here. So pretty smart thing to do. 6 on your G, 8 on your B, 5th, right? So 5th to 6th to 5th on the D. And last chorus he does something similar, another, you know, classic blues like something to that effect. So he throws that in there. So starting up here, hammer on, 5th to 6th on the G, then 5th IE, and then there on your B string. You can climb down here on the G, and you go back up. And it's gonna, on your 5th to 6th, bend up, half step on your 5th to 7, I should say, on your B string. Do whatever there. And he's gonna mess around the 5th to 6th on the G string, and then 5th on the D over the G chord, of course. That's essentially what he does there. And so that's the third chorus, and at the end of that he actually goes that's how he ends the song. He just hits that low D, and there's like a wah or whatever that he kind of go like wow. So that's how that ends. And during the third verse, there's a little fill in there. Something like that. It's nothing special. It's just you want to kind of pinch it a bit, have a bit of bravado in there. Very staccato. And then he just kind of ends it at some point with going 5 to 7 during the. You hear him doing that on the G string. Bend that up on the 6 of the B. Now for the first opening solo, he's going to start it like this. Right, so pretty cool. So just gonna start there. 14, 13 on your G and B. He doesn't slide into it. He just starts there, and then I think he slowly starts to add the vibrato on those. So it doesn't start with it, he slowly adds it. So, right? So I think you do that 4 times. And then slide down, 12. Right, so classically. He's going to end up there on the 12 of the G. Slow bend up, and this is a pattern he repeats. Half step bend up, or maybe a quarter step. I think it's half step. So that's bend up to 12, so 10 to 12. Then same thing on the A string. And then down 2 frets. And then he's going to jump down here, I think, and kind of slowly, not bend it as much, throw a little hook at the very end of that on the 3rd of the low E string. And then I think he's just kind of hitting the 5th of the D and then pulling off. That's the only way I can think of, because then I'm not sure exactly how else to do that. Because you have to make a little bit of a leap here and go up here to 11 of your high E and do this. Right, so full step on your 13th, sorry, of the high E. Then choke it. And bring it back down. 10. And then on the B string 10. Now you could be doing a half step or a full step bend there on the 13 of the B. And then I think it sounds cooler to go there to the 14th fret on the high E, but he may very well be doing a 15th fret on the high E there. So after you hit that, and then again stop it, bring it back down, and pull off there or pick it, and then 13 to 12, and then throw a little hook on there on the 10 of the G, then D, right, so, and then little hammer on 10 to 12 D, then 10 on G, then D, and then he sends it with a 12 on the D, and that's how that first solo ends. So the main solo after the second chorus, of course, is going to devolves there, but so you're gonna start. There's not a ton of vibrato here. It's just kind of a bunch of weird, wonky bends on this 12, like kind of whole step going back and forth, coming back down, sort of all over the place on the 12 of the G. And I think he's gonna eventually. He's gonna eventually end it by just playing. Not bent up at all. So just, and then so 10, 12 on the B, and then I think there's a pre-bend in there, up half a step on the 12, and then bend it back down to 10, and then there's a full step bend on the 12 of the high E. So, hammer on there on 10 to 12. He hits that 15 a high E a couple times. And then he's gonna so go chromatically up 13, 14, 15. Alright, so same thing on the B string, just 13 to 15, and then 12 to 14 on the G, then down a whole step, 10 to 12, same thing on the D, then same thing on the A, then down a whole step to 8th and 10th on the A, and then he's going to go. He's going to kind of be pedaling on that low D string and kind of going wherever on that A string there. And he starts to pick more, and he also throws on an effect there. It's probably like a phaser of some sort, or maybe he's just going crazy on the wah, but it would sound something like this. So something like that. I'm just approximating it. So you could just sort of pedal there. And you can hear that B note in there. So it's like a D Dorian or something, I guess. And then the next sort of lick that he does after this sort of pedals on that, he's going to do a classic octave slide melody. So two hits on each note. So this is on the A and G strings. Of course, mute everything else except maybe the low D, low E, whatever. So 5th, then up F note on the 8th. So 5th, 8th, 10th, 12th, 14th, 15th, and then up here on the 17th. I think he might hit this. It's just basically just open string noise after that, and then he's gonna hit the. So he's gonna end bend full step up on 15 of the high E. Right, so you're gonna want to mute it a bunch. And you can rake into it, but and then bend it back down. So again, going there chromatically like you did before. 13 to 14. And then 13 to 15 on the B. You're gonna do a little bend there, a little like half step bend sort of, then bend back down on the 12, then 10 to 12, and then little bend there on the 10 of the D, then chromatically from 12 to 11 to 10 on the A, and down here on the 8th, then 10 up to 12 on the A. He kind of has some open strings in there at the very end. This is honestly probably something like that. And then he ends at 12, 10, and you can hear him go at the end there. So 10 to 12. Right. So that's essentially everything. Thank you very much for watching, and take care.